Welcome to another Finding NorCal video. This time we're going to look at some old Bay Area mansions. Let's start with the William Westerfeld House. The William Westerfeld House, also known as the Russian Embassy, is a historic building located at 1198 Fulton Street in San Francisco. Constructed for German-born confectioner William Westerfeld in 1889, the home is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is San Francisco Landmark Number 135. William Westerfeld, a German-born confectioner, arrived in San Francisco in the 1870s. By the 1880s, he had established a chain of bakeries. He hired local architect Henry Guilfuss to design for his family of 6 a 28-room mansion with an adjoining rose garden and carriage house. The house was constructed in 1889 at a cost of $9,985. When Westerfeld died in 1895, the home was sold to John Mahoney of Mahoney Brothers, noted for building the St. Francis Hotel and the Palace Hotel after the 1906 earthquake. Mahoney replaced the Rose Garden with flats to meet the city's dire need for housing. In 1928, a group of Tsarist Russians bought the home. They turned the ground floor ballroom into a nightclub called Dark Eyes and used the upper floors for meeting rooms. The house became known informally as the Russian Embassy. In 1948, the home was converted into a 14-unit apartment building. For most of the next 2 decades, the units were rented to African-American musicians who played in the neighborhood jazz clubs. John Handy was allegedly one of many to call the Westerfeld house his home, although he later denied having been a boarder there. In 1965, Charles Fracchia purchased the building to use as a residence, but never occupied it. The house was mentioned in the book The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. The Calliope Company, a 50-member collective, moved in. In 1967, underground filmmaker Kenneth Anger took up residence. Then, in 1968, members of the Family Dog occupied the house while promoting acid rock concerts at the Avalon Ballroom. Members of the Grateful Dead and Big Brother and the holding company were frequent visitors. The first attempts to rehabilitate the building began in the 1970s. 2 men purchased the home for $45,000 in 1969. They remodeled the 4th-floor servants' quarters beyond recognition. The house was left standing despite an urban renewal project, which claimed 6,000 Victorian-era buildings over a 60-block area in the Western Addition. Jim Siegel purchased the home in 1986 for $750,000 and has since retrofitted the foundation, removed the drop ceilings, rewired, re-roofed, and replumbed, and restored the interior and exterior woodwork and the historic ground floor ballroom, and decorated the 25-foot ceiling with period wallpaper crafted by Bradbury and Bradbury. Next up, the Cameron Stamford House. The Cameron Stamford House is the last of the 19th-century Victorian mansions that once surrounded Lake Merritt in Oakland. It was the home to a series of influential families, and in 1907 became the city's first museum. The home was built in 1876, and its first occupants were William Walker Cameron and his wife, Alice Marsh Cameron. She was the daughter of Dr. John Marsh, who was a California pioneer. Marsh was influential in encouraging wagon trains of settlers to come to California and also in its obtaining independence from Mexico. He owned the 13,000-acre Rancho Los Meganos, and the large, stone house of John Marsh that he built there, in what is now Marsh Creek State Park, still stands. He was murdered by a disgruntled employee, and as a young woman, Alice received a large inheritance, which she used to purchase the Cameron Stamford House from its builder, Samuel Merritt. Her husband, William Cameron, was a deputy sheriff and was active in the Republican Party. He was appointed to a vacant seat on the Oakland City Council and later became a member of the California State Assembly. Next to occupy the home was the family of David Hughes. He made and lost several fortunes. He is best known for donating one of the golden spikes used in the celebration of the completion of the first transcontinental railroad at Promontory Summit, Utah in 1869. The Josiah Stamford family owned the home from 1882 to 1903. Josiah Stamford was a brother of Leland Stamford, who was one of the founders of the Central Pacific Railroad, which built the portion of the first transcontinental railroad east from Sacramento to Promontory Summit. In 1907, The city of Oakland purchased the Cameron Stanford House and other private residences bordering Lake Merritt. The city raised the other homes and created Lakeside Park. It established the Oakland Museum in the Cameron Stanford House, which occupied the house for the next 5 decades. The museum merged with the Oakland Art Gallery and the Snow Museum, and in 1965 moved to other quarters. However, public interest and donations saved the Cameron Stanford House, and today it is an independent museum. The house has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places since June 13, 1972. Next, we have the Atherton House. The Atherton House, also known as the Faxon Atherton Mansion, is a historic building in San Francisco. The style of the house, a blend of Queen and sticky slate, has been described as both eclectic and bizarre. The house was built in 1881 to 1882 in the Queen Anne style with horizontal lines, a clipped gable, and a short tower. The architect is thought to have been John Marquis, but it has also been attributed to the Moore brothers, who are depicted in other accounts as the initial builders. It was constructed for Dominga de Goni Atherton after the death of her husband Faxon Atherton. She was the mother-in-law of novelist Gertrude Atherton, who wrote about the house in her memoirs. Newspaper articles about the house when the housewarming was held in 1882 described it as picturesque, but appearing to be a relic of an earlier time. The reporter also noted that the height of the rooms created a claustrophobic effect on visitors. Possibly in answer to the comments, Dominga hired Charles Lee Tilden to improve the house. After Dominga Atherton's death in 1890, the mansion was sold to Edgar Mills, brother of Darius Ogden Mills of the Bank of California, and in 1900 was renumbered from 1950 to 1990 California St. In 1908, it was purchased by George Chauncey Boardman, a real estate magnate and president of San Francisco Fire Insurance, whose house had been destroyed in the 1906 earthquake and fire. His widow and other family members lived there until 1923, when it was bought by Charles J. Rousseau, an architect, who subdivided it into 13 apartments. His widow Carrie lived there with 50 cats until her death in 1974. As of 2008, it was still subdivided. Also in San Francisco is the Alfred E. Clark Mansion. The Alfred E. Clark Mansion, also known as the Caselli Mansion, Nobby Clark's Castle and Nobby Clark's Folly, is a mansion at 250 Douglas Street. Built in 1891 by Alfred Nobby Clark, it has been a hospital and is now an apartment building. It became a San Francisco designated landmark in 1975. The house is a 4-story structure in Baroque Queen Anne style. It has several towers, and the roof has bands of scalloped shingles alternating with plain. It stands on a site at the head of Eureka Valley and originally had 45 rooms. The interior features an impressive foyer with grand staircase, carved fireplaces, mantels and wood paneling, and fine stained glass. Alfred Nobby Clark, who had it built, is said to have based it on a French lakeside chateau whose plans he bought. Clark, who came to San Francisco from Ireland as a cabin boy in 1850, had amassed a fortune of some $200,000 by dubious means while working for the police department from 1856 to 1887, for much of that time as clerk to the chief of police and later as the department's legal advisor. He bought the lot in 1890 and completed the house in 1892 for a reputed $100,000. Clark engaged in an expensive legal feud with a neighbor over water sales, and soon after completing the house lost his fortune in a nationwide economic depression. In 1892, he declared himself insolvent after signing his real estate holdings over to his wife and a friend in an attempt to conceal them. He then brought a series of unsuccessful lawsuits against the city and his creditors and was repeatedly jailed before dying at age 69. He lost the house in 1896 when he defaulted on the mortgage. His wife had declined to live in the then largely rural area, preferring to remain on Nob Hill. The mansion was purchased by the California Medical College as a teaching hospital. The building subsequently became the McLean Hospital and Sanitarium, headed by Donald McLean, which taught eclectic medicine. In 1900, Law Keem earned a medical degree there, the first medical degree awarded to a Chinese person in San Francisco. The building was used for 2 more hospitals, including the California General Hospital in 1904. In August 1903, heiress Edith Irene Wolfskill, the daughter of John Wolfskill, had been a patient of California General Hospital, and she escaped out a window before they could perform an operation on her, possibly a hysterectomy. The building may have been again used as a hospital during World War I. Unlike many other Victorian mansions in San Francisco, it survived the 1906 earthquake and the subsequent fires. In 1909, it became the Victor Apartments, the first apartment building in the neighborhood, with 14 units. In World War II, it was leased for employee housing by Standard Oil. The Alfred E. Clark Mansion was designated San Francisco City Landmark Number 80 on December 7, 1975. And once again in Oakland is the Dunsmuir-Hellman Estate. The Dunsmuir House and Gardens, also known by the name the Dunsmuir-Hellman Historic Estate and previously known as Oakvale Park, located on a 50-acre site. The Dunsmuir House has a neoclassical revival architectural style and is listed in the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. The Dunsmuir Mansion was designed by the San Francisco architect Eugene Freeman and is an example of neoclassical revival architecture, which was popular in the late 1800s. The 37-room mansion is 16,224 square feet and features 10 fireplaces, a Tiffany-style dome, wood panel public rooms, and inlaid parquet floors. The servant quarters in the house are designed to accommodate 12 live-in staff. The house was built in 1899 by Alexander Dunsmuir, son of Robert Dunsmuir, a wealthy coal magnate from Victoria, British Columbia. Dunsmuir, who came to the San Francisco Bay Area in 1878 to manage the family business, intended the house to be a wedding gift for his new bride, but didn't get to live in it with her as he fell ill and died while on his honeymoon in New York. His new bride returned to live in the home, but soon died herself in 1901. Hellman Jr. purchased the estate in 1906 as a summer home for his family, and by 1913 the mansion was remodeled for the larger family's needs, as well as to hold their growing acquisitions from European travel. Mrs. Hellman kept the estate well into the 1950s after her husband's death in 1920. During this time, additions included the swimming pool and Dinkelspiel House, and a good deal of landscape development on the northern end of the estate. In the early 1960s, the mansion and lands were purchased by the city of Oakland with the intention of using it as a conference center. When this project didn't work out, a nonprofit organization was formed in 1971 to preserve and restore the estate for the public benefit, and for many years, the nonprofit group and the city jointly operated the estate. In June 1989, the nonprofit organization took over most of the administrative duties and dubbed the grounds the Dunsmuir House and Gardens, with its primary function to be as an educational, historical, cultural, and horticultural resource. The mansion has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and both the mansion and the carriage house have been designated historic landmarks by the city of Oakland. Next is the Haas. Lilienthal House is a historic building located at 2007 Franklin Street in San Francisco, within the Pacific Heights neighborhood. Built in 1886 for William and Bertha Haas, it survived the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and subsequent fire. The Victorian-era house is a San Francisco designated landmark and is listed on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. It was donated to the nonprofit organization San Francisco Heritage in 1973 and converted into a museum with period furniture and artifacts, which as of 2016 received over 6,500 visitors annually. The house was built for merchant William Haas, his wife Bertha Greenebaum, and their children Florine, Charles Williams, and Alice. William Haas was born in Reckendorf, Bavaria, from a Jewish family, and came to San Francisco in October 1868, rapidly establishing himself as a successful businessman. In 1880, he married Bertha Greenebaum, whose father Hermann, owner of a prosperous mercantile company in California, was also from Bavaria. Well integrated within the affluent local Bavarian Jewish community, the couple lived in a number of different residences after their marriage before finally building a grand mansion for themselves and their children. Haas entrusted Bavarian architect Peter R. Schmidt and contractors McCann and Bedell to build his home in 1886. The house withstood the 1906 earthquake with only slight damage. However, The home was threatened by the devastating fire which followed the earthquake and destroyed about 40% of San Francisco. The Haas family watched the fire from the roof of their house, but was soon forced to evacuate by city authorities. So the family, along with most other San Francisco residents, went to the nearest public park, Lafayette Park, to camp out during the emergency. 3 days after the earthquake, the fire was finally stopped at Van Ness Avenue, narrowly sparing the house from destruction. The 1928 addition, living quarters over a garage, were built by architect Gardner Daly to provide needed space for the additions to the family. 3 generations of Haas and Lilienthal descendants lived at 2007 Franklin Street. In 1972, Alice Haas Lilienthal died after having resided in the house for nearly 80 years. The following year, her children donated the mansion to San Francisco Heritage, a nonprofit organization. There are so many amazing mansions, it's impossible to show you them all, but here is one more for today. Here is the Alfred H. Cohen House, also known as the Cohen-Bray House. It is a residence located in the Fruitvale neighborhood of Oakland. The house was originally part of the Peralta land grant, known as Oak Tree Farm. The building was officially listed on the National Register of Historic Places on June 19, 1973, and placed on the list of Oakland designated landmarks. On July 6, 1854, Watson Augustus Bray and his brother John Grandin Bray purchased 200 acres of the Peralta Mexican land grant. They continued to buy acreage through 1863. On January 20, 1859, W.A. Bray built a home on this property, which they called Oak Tree Farm. Other families moved into the Fruitvale area and built large homes. Bray and his wife, Julia A. Moses, had a daughter, Emma Bray, who married Alfred Henry Cohen on February 28, 1884, at her parents' home in Fruitvale. For her wedding present, her parents built her a 17-room house, now called the Alfred H. Cohen House, also known as the Cohen-Bray House nearby. They resided in the house the remainder of their lives. They had 4 children. One child, Edith Emelita Cohen, lived in the house that her mother bequeathed her. In 1918, a 3rd child, Marion Cohen, remodeled the carriage house and moved it to the front of the estate, north of the main house. The property encompasses a plot of land covering approximately 1 acre. The residence is the sole remaining portion of the Oak Tree Farm property, which once spanned more than 200 acres. The house is of the stick or Queen and Victorian style, which was the fashion from about 1870 until 1885. The 2-story wood frame house has a 3rd-story attic with a water tank supported by a 4-foot-high base and brick foundation. A 6.5 feet wide front porch wraps around the entrance, with a pair of columns with capitals that reflect a Moorish influence and brackets that support the cornice. The columns are set on a balustrade with turned balusters standing 2.6 feet high. The reconstructed front steps feature simple wood railings. The main parlor wing extends to the porch depth in an octagonal form, extending through the 2nd floor and capped by a gable upheld by corner brackets. Open barge boards resembling wishbones provide support for the gable's cornice. Similar octagonal and square wings project from the southern and northern elevations. The interior of the house has a front parlor, library, dining room, large living room. The house has custom-made woodwork, using red mahogany and redwood. There is a front and rear staircase, along with a 3rd staircase leading to the 3rd floor. Upstairs, the house comprises 5 bedrooms and 2 baths. Electricity was installed in around 1907. The descendants of Emma and Alfred have established a foundation where their home functions as a study center for late 19th century decorative arts. Alfred H. Cohen House is in its original condition, unchanged, retaining its original furnishings. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on June 19, 1973, and on the list of Oakland designated landmarks for Oakland, California. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe to this channel for more. And as always, happy trails!